Guys, my name is Crystal. Welcome to my YouTube channel. This is my second video of this morning. Alexa, good morning.
Good morning. Whatever your taste in tunes, today's the day to branch out. It's International Strange Music Day, a time to listen to something new and weird just for the fun of it. You can always ask me to sing you a song. That might be pretty strange.
Alexa, sing me a song. I don't think she's going to sing me one. Alexa, sing me a song.
Bingo, bango, bongo, listen to my song, go. Come and sing along, go. Bingo, bango, bongo, sing it all night long, go. And you can't go wrong, go. Bingo, bango, bongo, boom. Le Royaume-Uni, 12 points.
Right, guys, those are the balloons I blew up yesterday. So yeah, let's go back to yesterday, shall we? I was round my mum's for around 1:45 yesterday afternoon. The taxi driver was not very chatty. So I sat round there with my mum and she was getting agitated after a call from Charlotte. I went outside a couple of times to cool off. She's an old lady and you don't get cross with old ladies, right? So the takeaway arrived. My mum had ordered it over the phone. Same delivery guy who always is really nice to my mum, Jennifer. Excuse me. They have quite a bit of banter with each other while I was sat down, and I told you that my mum had said I'm carrying on as usual to Charlotte, like she did when my father Derek used to lose his temper. So the guy banged on the door, the takeaway guy banged on the door. I had Max, so I was looking after my dog because he barked obviously when someone knocked at the door. Max is not my mother's dog, Max is my dog, and in fact it's actually my son's, who got Max from Liverpool, who gave me Max to keep me company because I was getting depressed on my own. So the takeaway driver hands the takeaway to my mum and she's going, "The delivery's for Genestra, it's not for me. Jennifer doesn't eat takeaways." I was proverbially being driven round the bend slowly. My mum was talking as if, I don't know who she was talking as if she wasn't there. She was talking about like Jennifer was somebody completely different and she wasn't Jennifer. It was driving me bonkers, it really was. The takeaways are not for Jennifer, they're Genestra. Jennifer doesn't eat takeaways. And there she is in this mother-to-be top, and she's an old lady, she can't have children anymore, and she's got a mummy top on. I can't have children anymore. Charlotte can, I can't. It's upsetting me. It's making me feel horrible. All this is. So I hung my washing out on my mother, Jennifer's washing line. My cat has disappeared. I'm dealing with all this stress. I'm not losing my temper, by the way. I've lost my cat since Saturday morning. I'm not losing my temper. I'm remaining cool and calm and collected while I'm being shouted at and accused of being my mother. Right? Copying my mum. So the washing's hung out. I try and eat my burger without choking on it because my mum is yelling. She's yelling. She's got all into the tizzy tangle. She's all frustrated and angry about something. I don't know what it is. All after this phone call. I'm watching YouTube videos to try and relax. She orders some chicken nuggets for Max. So Max he ate some of the chicken of the takeaway. He's fine. He's curled up in the sofa. He doesn't. He's just sat there. I'm just sitting here. Don't bother me. So I had the takeaway, and then my mum increasingly got worse and worse and worse. And eventually it was time to go. And my mum rang the taxis, folks' taxis that had brought me to my mum's door from Corey's Road with Max, and we started to get trouble with the call operators. Females. She said it wasn't the one that was on this morning. She said they can't get you a taxi, Janestra, and to call back in 10 minutes. Now they do that to me when I haven't got the dog. That's been done to me, and I haven't had the dog. My mum's got a call back in 10 minutes. So my mum starts to get frantic. And she starts talking about Sue, her next door neighbour. I said, you can't ask Sue to get me a taxi. It's not fair. Sue's deaf. Sue's hard of hearing. She's deaf. She's got a hearing aid. You know, like my dad, my mum used to try and get my dad to drive me home, and he was getting cataracts, and he was deaf, and sometimes she kept on at my dad to give me a lift, and he had hearing problems and he had cataracts. Right? I said, you can't get Sue to give me a lift, like it's not fair. She was saying Dad had several affairs with other women. He had affairs with Julie Preston at Victoria Road. He's been seeing all the women down the street. She said Derek was having affairs with all the neighbours in Durrell Gardens. That's what she said to me. I'm not Derek, I'm Janestra, I'm Crystal. She kept saying Derek was a homosexual, Derek had relationships with men. This is what she was saying inside the flat before I got home. Like my dad was a homosexual basically, and he had affairs with women. So he had affairs with women in Victoria Road, he had affairs with women in Durrell Gardens. My dad was he had no teeth. He had long grey hair, he had no teeth, and he was with all these women and all these men. It's driving me crazy. So I said, Mum, I'll take the pressure off you and I'll call the taxi company from my mobile phone. My mobile phone. You couldn't, it was like a comedy show. It was like something out of I don't know what. Derek must have been this Casanova. My dad must have been a Casanova with no teeth. He had no teeth, and yet all these women and men were after him. It's driving me bonkers. So I said, Mum, I'll ring folks' taxis. I'll ring them and see what the fuck is going on, because it's ridiculous. You know, if you were a pet-friendly taxi company and you were able to get a taxi for me home, they should have been able to get a taxi for me back. They said we don't take pre-booked taxis anymore. Right, my mum has paid like hundreds of pounds on folks and ABC and Star taxis. Hundreds of pounds. And it's not like Max is a fucking Jaws or he's a fucking Rottweiler. And they know he's a small chihuahua. He just sits there all quiet and does nothing. Right? It's ridiculous. So I rang folks' taxis on my mobile, and I have messaged them about yesterday's performance. I'm not happy with it at all. It's like people are making up things as they go along, and I'm an adult and I'm fucking sick of it, to be honest. So I said, can I have a taxi, please? My name is Crystal. I'm a disabled, vulnerable woman. Please, can I get a taxi home with my dog, please? I said, you provided a taxi up to Durrell Gardens to see my mother, Jennifer, and now I'm having problems getting back home. So she tried it. She went, all right, darling, and I'm a woman, so I've got a female calling me darling. I can't stand that. That annoys me. So she said, all right, darling, the call operator of Folks Taxis. She said, I'll check. So she called around. She went, I'm very sorry, I can't get you a taxi right now. There's no drivers that take dogs. She said, you'll have to call again in about 10 to 15 minutes. I wanted to get home before people left work because the taxi fare would have been about 40 quid. It would have been about 40 quid held up in traffic. So we started ringing about 4:20. And now it was getting on to 4:45. So I rang again, and my mum was getting cross, she was getting angry, she was yelling. The taxi's not for me, Jennifer, it's for Genestra, who is Crystal, yelling, and it was hurting my ears. So I rang the taxi company again, and I said, I've rang twice, my mother's rung once, have you got a taxi driver that will take a small dog, please? And then an Asian woman answered, a young Indian lady. We have a taxi driver that's coming back from Wayfield. If you call in 10 to 15 minutes, we'll see what we can do. I said, well, can't you just tell the taxi driver that I would like to go home, please? And stop him from taking someone else home because I really need to get home. And she said, no, I can't do that, call back in 15 minutes. So my mum said, you can't stay here, Genestra, there's only one bed. You can't stay here. And it was making my hands shake. You can't stay here, you can't stay here. I said, I don't want to stay at your flat, I want to go home. I said, I will get home. I said, I'll keep ringing this taxi driving company till I get home. They provided a taxi up here, they can provide one back home. Going on and on, you can't stay here, you can't stay here. She said, you know, you'll have to walk home with Max, and you can leave the heavy shopping and you can walk home with the dog. I said, no. I said, I nearly fainted yesterday. No. So I rang back 15 minutes later and I was told that, oh no, we couldn't guarantee the driver was going to pick you up. I'll see if I can get him to pick you up. And I phoned 10 minutes later again. And she said that I had a message to my phone, a taxi's coming. I had a message to my phone, my mobile, because my mum Jennifer doesn't have one, that a taxi's coming. So I took all the bags outside, all the bloody heavy bags outside, I had Max ready to go, and then Folks Taxis called me on my mobile. I'm sorry, the driver's not going to be picking you up. He's not going to be picking you up, Crystal. So I was all stood there by my mum's front door, ready to go, and Folks Taxis ring me up. I'm sorry, but the taxi driver's got out of the taxi and he's gone. He's not taking you home. I said, I didn't get cross with the call operator. I said, all right. I laughed. I actually laughed and I said, Mum, this is a joke. I said, this is a complete joke. I said, you know, they're calling me darling and I'm a woman. What, you know, I'm not a bloke. And I went back indoors, put the bags down, and my mum said, I'm gonna knock on Sue's door. She said, come with me. I said, I'm not coming with you because the dog would go off. Because Sue's got a dog called Sam. I said, I'm not coming with you, the dog will go off. She said, well, I'll ring Sue up on her phone. So my mum rings Sue up. I've had all these phone calls, these loud voices, these wind-ups. I'm not losing my temper, right? And she phones Sue up and she says, can you take Janestra home, please? She can't get a taxi. And Sue, thank God, said that she would take me home. My mum's next door neighbour took me home. And we're going to go into that in the next video. Getting home with Sue, who is deaf and has got a hearing aid. Folks, taxis, my goodness. It's not the taxi drivers, it's the women on the phone. The call operators. As it was when I called the police on 999 calls, it's the bloody call operators mucking about. The female call operators, the women, mucking me about. So in the next video, I'm going to tell you what happens, the lovely people in this street, Corey's Road, yesterday when I came home. And it happened while my dad was alive. And he's been dead 2 years. But it happened when my father was alive and I used to come home after moving into this flat. 3 years ago. What happened down the street yesterday when I'd had all that noise in my ears, phones going off and people being rude and nasty to me. And I didn't lose my temper last night in the street either, when I was being made fun of. Because Derek loves all the women and the men. And he's dead. He was cremated in 2021. And my mother has got the death certificates to prove it. What the fuck does it matter that my dad fancied men and women when he's dead? These people are insane. They're mad. See you later.